Hey guys, it's Solly from the Craft Whiskey Boys, your favourite.
My favourite.
And today I'm going to be covering our top 5 whiskies of 2020. Now I know what you guys are thinking, we're only halfway through August, why the hell are we doing this now and not in January or December or wherever it's normally done? But you know what? Who cares? We're doing it now. Number 5, and this one's a bit of a curveball guys, and also a special release for a movie. Yep, you guessed it, it's a bourbon.
This one is the Statesman.
The Statesman.
It was, made specifically or debuted for the Kingsman Golden Circle movie.
Decent bit of spice on the finish. I love a spicy finish.
I'm getting a bit of dark chocolate right there. It isn't overpowering on that spice at all as well, but I wasn't expecting it to be so spicy at the same time. Really nice.
3, 2, 1,
8.4.
8.1.
That's pretty impressive for Solly, I gotta say. I think a very agreeable 8.3.
Our best bourbon so far, I believe. Number 5, a special release for the Statesman sequel, a movie that I'm not a fan of, but I was a big fan of that whiskey, so I rated it at 8.1, but we averaged out at 8.3, so a very, very strong whiskey, spicy, chocolatey. Who doesn't love that? Coming in at number 4 is quite an expensive whiskey. I believe this cost in the region of £700 and it was very difficult to get hold of. It's very old and it's very easy to spell as well. Yep, you guys know, we're talking about the Bracladi. Today we are reviewing the Bracladi 1986 30-year-old bottle. They started in 1881. A couple of brothers, I think, started it, but recently bought by Remy Cointreau for something like, 58 million.
The colour is just so dark. it looks so thick.
It's a barrel.
It's just so dense when you're drinking it. It just has this clogginess to it, which is unlike any whiskey I've tried before.
They go to the old boys' room and they're all sitting there drinking cognac and smoking cigars. That is the whiskey for that. 1 or 2, and that's all you could have in a night. It's too luscious, it's too overpowering. There's no way you could drink any more. But it is a world-class whiskey for 1 or 2 drinks.
The palate is great and the finish is good. 8.3 baby.
Interesting. I'm going to have to score this higher than any other whiskey I've scored so far, and I'm going for an 8.8.
Jesus.
Wow.
Yeah.
As a younger whiskey, this was a 9 whiskey. I just think it went over its peak and went too far around the back, and it's just too overpowered. And but it's still gorgeous. I would absolutely buy this. I will definitely keep this in my collection. 8.1 for this.
Very dark and very overly sherried whiskey. Our scores were very diverse. For me, I would call that an unforgettable whiskey. I'm never going to forget the taste of that. It's very memorable. But it's also got to be, for me, in my opinion, reserved for special occasions. 1, very expensive, and 2, I could barely drink more than 1 dram of it. Really good though, 8.3 from me, but it averaged out at 8.4. Shit's starting to get real. Things are starting to heat up, guys. We're now into the top 3, and for this, I enlisted some help.
Enlisted help. You don't enlist me, I just come in on this shit. Listen, you can't do the top 3 without 2 of the top 3 in the Craft Whiskey Boys present. And Mo's not here, so I'm jumping in.
And without further ado, here we have it, number 3.
We are very, very excited about this one, aren't we?
Absolutely.
Tell me, what do you know about Bladnoch as a distillery?
We know quite a lot. I mean, we've been up there. We do some work with the guys up at Bladnoch. It was obviously a very old distillery, it's 202 years old. One of the oldest in Scotland.
Oldest
distilleries.
independently owned.
What did they finish it in? Does it say?
Oh yeah, red wine cask.
No.
Right?
Well, there you go. I didn't even read that.
You should work in whiskey, man.
Yeah, I should definitely try and carve out a career in it.
Yeah, it's nice. That's a really nice nose.
Now you can really pick that up big time.
There's some good berries in there.
Moe's berries.
Barry Goodberry.
Got a deep bluish hue.
Blueberries.
The nose is really nice.
Yeah.
The palate is very, very nice as well. But the finish for me is my favourite part. For me, it's an 8.6.
As you said, the finish is just superb. It just continues and continues, and then it leaves this great oily mouthfeel there, and I'm just inclined to keep on drinking it. I'm gonna actually just go with where you are. That's initially what I was thinking in my mind. I think a strong 8.6. So what is it, Jay?
It's a world-class whiskey. It's It's got everything that a Scotch whiskey drinker would absolutely fucking go nuts over. It's just got too much on that back palate by way of spice for my palate. But that being said, anyone that loves a bloody world-class single malt would score this in the 9s, I think. I'm in the low 8s. I'm at an 8.2.
Guys, 8.5, very strong score. Should have been higher in my opinion. 8.6 was perfect. I think Jay was being a bit harsh.
Yeah, I think 8.2 was, based on how I was in the profile of tasting it that day, 8.2 is a fair score. It is an exceptionally complex and an exceptional whiskey. I think a lot of other whiskey people that would taste it would probably go a little bit higher in the 8s. Just from where my palate was and how it was that day, I was at 8.2 and I'm standing by it. But it's a great bloody whiskey.
With a very strong finish. So we're nearly there, guys. Nearly at number 1. But first of all, we want to talk a little bit about number 2. What do we want to say about number 2, Jay?
What we want to say about number 2 is it's your favorite whiskey up until it wasn't your favorite whiskey. You've been raving all year about you'll never find a better one than number 2, which is the Redbreast 12. And we did find a better one, which was number 1. But we'll talk about number 1 in a second. Let's talk about number 2.
If I was only able to drink one whiskey for the rest of my life, it would be without a doubt Redbreast 12.
Of all the whiskies in the world, of the single malts, of the bourbons, the corns, the blends, the ryes, Canadian whiskies, Japanese, pot still Irish Redbreast is, I would say, the standout. It's probably the best in the world. It's definitely up there. The 12 specifically, the cheapest one of all of them, I love, he loves.
It's super complex in every aspect, on the nose, on the palate. It's got a great finish. It genuinely should not be priced at 50 quid.
No.
It shouldn't be. So it's a whiskey that you can buy for yourself, and it's always going to be good. And also it's a really good one to introduce people to whiskey with as well. People that know about whiskey and know about tastes and things like that, they'd love it. And also a noob would love it that has no palate at all. So it's just all round an amazing whiskey.
Why is it so long since I've tried a Redbreast when it's one of my favorite whiskies? We've just been trying everything else.
I'll put the 12 in my favorite glass, which is the Turkish tea glass. If you don't have one, get yourself one.
It's just the creaminess of a pot still is unmistakable. The sherry that comes off the back of this, the oak and the vanilla that are obviously there because of the American oak that it sat in for a period of time as well. Some of it was in sherry, some in oak.
It is the best all-round whiskey there is in all markets. So for me, I'm going to rate the Redbreast 12 an 8.6. And as far as I'm concerned, that is the highest rating I'll ever give. And I can't wait for the day that I find one that I'll rate higher, because it means I found a whiskey that I love more than the Redbreast 12. I've had a few.
All right, so what's he, 8 point what?
6. The highest rating I'll ever give.
Where I'm at on the Redbreast 12, I'm at an 8.5 on the Redbreast 12. I think it's better than the 27, which I think was at 8.4, 8.3. 8.5 for the Redbreast 12.
8.6 for Redbreast 12, and yes, I did say in that video that it was the highest rating I would ever give. But straight after that, I said I can't wait for the day that I find one I rate higher.
So that was your disclaimer.
Yes.
And he did find one higher. However, let's talk about the Redbreast 12. Extremely approachable. It's just a really perfectly balanced whiskey. It's easier drinking for someone new coming into whiskey that's got all the flavor complexities, super low on ethanol. It's not flabby or, you know, what it does across the tongue, the oiliness across the palate, the back, the finish, the nose. It's just a very, very, very good whiskey, specifically for someone coming into whiskey. It would be a 10 for someone coming into whiskey, and then people who've been in whiskey a while longer, it's in those mid-8s. It's a good whiskey.
8.6. Ladies and gentlemen,
The moment you've all been waiting for.
it's time! Coming in at 165 pounds.
165 and 1/2 pounds. Fighting out of the blue corner. What the fuck? Listen, this is our number 1. This is the beast so far. Not my number 1 that I've ever tried, but my number 1 that I've ever tried while reviewing 2-minute reviews for Craft Whiskey Boys.
The highest score we've given in 2020. Here we go.
I'm looking forward to it.
Cheers. Oh, this is a big one. Holy shit.
What the fuck was that? That's what I was like when I tasted that.
What is that?
all the staff bought us each a bottle of this, and I'd never tried it to that point.
It looks like it's gonna be a whiskey. Bushmills. I like Bushmills. 21-year-old.
So we know this whiskey. I've got 5 bottles of this here. This is what my go-to whiskey for a fine whiskey at night. We've never reviewed it and scored it though. We've reviewed it once and we've never scored it.
So yeah, one of the oldest distilleries in Ireland, if not the oldest licensed distillery in Ireland.
Yeah, I think it was the first licensed distillery in Ireland, 1608, I believe. King James the First, could be wrong.
King John Ill loves a bit of whiskey.
King John Ill loves it too.
And we're finally actually going to put a score on it.
Yeah, I think it's the oldest licensed distillery in the world, not just in Ireland. I was right beside the Giant's Causeway. I've been here, I've visited it, took my kids up there to see the Giant's Causeway in Ireland because it is one of the wonders of the world. Have you ever been up there, Giant's Causeway?
say I have,
you guys
no.
have to check it
Is
out.
it that bit, is it where they filmed that bit in that movie?
What do you mean is it where they filmed it? It's the fucking Giant's Causeway. It's not about a movie.
There's a giant like statue and they like go past it in boats and that. Obviously, I know what the Giant's Causeway is.
He's
That's
literally,
right, Lord of the Rings.
he's literally not getting any of this now. 3,
Triple pop?
2, 1. How did I wait? I licked that. It's 160 quid a bottle, which seems, some people say, oh, it's very expensive, but for the quality of the whiskey, I don't think it's expensive. It's as good as any, $1,000 bottle or whatever, but it's not $1,000.
Lovely spice on the finish.
But but the spice is
There's a bit of tobacco in the finish
yeah,
as well.
there is. Yeah, the spice is lower than what it is on the 16, but in a better way. It's
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
but it's just more rounded.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
exactly.
just more. It's just.
It
all
starts
round
in your
better.
tongue and it just finds its way up your nasal passage, just like bubbling all the way over.
Finishes second to none.
Oh, there it is. There's the infamous taste.
I know exactly what I'm scoring this.
So do I.
3, 2, 1,
9.2. 9.2.
I said 9.2.
Hey, 9.2.
What did you say?
8.8.
You little shit.
Oh, you little twerp.
So wait, you scored it higher than Redbreast.
Yeah.
Oh, you found it, baby.
Yeah.
I will never score anything higher than Redbreast 12. But you
Well,
just
look.
Wait, let's do
There
the
you
maths
go.
on that quickly. 9.2, 9.2, 9.2. Is that 9? Do the math.
9.2,
Someone mapped it up,
9.2,
yeah.
and 8.8.
A grand total of 9.1.
9.1.
Holy shit. That is it. Very well deserved. Like, let's
Well, we hit our
cheers
9-point whiskey, folks.
You're welcome, guys. That's our top 5 whiskies of 2020 so far. And in the meantime, guys, like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you comment with whiskey suggestions because we're running out. Just kidding.
Cheers.
Schlancher.
Slanjeba.